Life is not a battlefield where the strongest survive, nor a gamble where luck decides your fate. Life is a game governed by exact laws, and every law works with perfect fairness. Most people struggle, not because the game is cruel, but because they never learned the rules. They plead, they force, they fear, and they rush, yet the game does not respond to desperation. It responds to alignment. The moment you understand that thought is the king, word is the messenger, and feeling is the power behind both, the game changes instantly. You stop reacting to life and begin directing it. Today, I will show you how to win the game of life by playing it the way it was designed to be played. Life begins. To change the moment, you realize that everything you experience outwardly has already taken shape inwardly, long before an event appears as success or failure, ease or struggle. It has existed as a pattern of thought, belief, and expectation. People often try to fix their lives by rearranging circumstances, changing places, or force outcomes, yet they remain trapped in the same cycle because the inner game has not shifted. The true arena of life is the mind. What you consistently think, assume, and emotionally accept becomes the mold into which life pours its experiences. This is why two people can face the same situation and walk away with completely different results. One carries fear and doubt, the other carried confidence and trust. The outer scene responds not to effort but to consciousness. When you understand that the game is mental before it is physical, you stop reacting blindly to events. You begin to observe your inner reactions, knowing they are shaping what comes next. Fearful anticipation attracts obstacles, while calm expectation invites solutions. The mind acts like fertile soil, and thoughts are seeds planted daily through attention and repetition. Whatever is planted with feeling will grow, whether it is wanted or unwanted. Many people unknowingly win arguments for their own limitations by repeating them mentally and verbally. They rehearse loss, imagine failure, and then wonder why life mirrors those images so faithfully. The mind does not distinguish between imagination and reality. It accepts what is impressed upon it and moves accordingly. This understanding places responsibility back into your hands, not as a burden, but as liberation. You are no longer at the mercy of chance or other people. You are participating in a lawful system where inner alignment produces utter harmony. When the mental picture is changed, the external conditions must follow, because effect cannot contradict cause. This is not positive thinking in a shallow sense, but conscious thinking with awareness. It means choosing thoughts deliberately, knowing each one carries creative power. The person who masters this principle no longer fears circumstances, because circumstances are seen as temporary reflections, not permanent truths. As this awareness deepens, you begin to notice how quickly life responds to inner shifts. A change in attitude opens unexpected doors. A release of resentment removes delays. A quiet confidence dissolves resistance. You are not trying to control the world. You are aligning with the laws that govern it. This alignment creates a sense of ease, as if life itself is cooperating rather than opposing. The struggle fades because you are no longer pushing against invisible forces. You are moving with them. Closely tied to this mental mastery is the power of the spoken word. Words are the bridge between thought and manifestation. What is spoken with conviction moves out of the unseen and into form. Every sentence you speak is either reinforcing what you desire or strengthening what you wish to escape. Many people speak carelessly, unaware that their words are setting the tone for future experiences. Complaints, fears, and negative predictions may feel harmless in the moment, but they act as instructions to the subconscious and the surrounding conditions of life. The spoken word carries vibration, and vibration attracts corresponding outcomes. When you repeatedly declare limitation, you create boundaries that life faithfully honors. When you speak confidence and order, you clear the path for progress. This is why changing language changes results. The moment you stop saying things are difficult and begin affirming clarity and ease, the mind reorganizes itself around that assumption. New ideas surface, different opportunities appear. The game shifts because the rules you are playing by have changed. Words spoken with emotion are especially powerful. Emotion is the energy that gives words momentum. A fearful statement spoken with strong feeling imprints deeply, while a calm statement of faith spoken consistently can dissolve years of doubt. This is why casual affirmations without belief often feel ineffective. It is not repetition alone that creates change, but alignment between word and inner acceptance. When you speak something you genuinely accept as true, even quietly, It sets forces into motion that cannot be reversed easily. Learning to govern speech is learning to govern destiny. Silence becomes preferable to careless talk because you understand that every word matters. You begin to speak only what you are willing to experience. This discipline does not make you rigid, it makes you powerful. Your words become intentional, purposeful, and creative. You stop arguing for problems and start announcing solutions. You stop forecasting trouble and begin declaring order. As this practice becomes natural, life responds with surprising precision. Situations rearrange without struggle. People respond differently. Delays dissolve. It feels as though unseen assistance has stepped in. But in truth, you have simply removed conflicting commands. The mind and word are now aligned, and alignment produces momentum. This is how the game of life is won, not through force, but through understanding. When thought and word move together in clarity and faith, the path ahead opens smoothly, and progress becomes inevitable. Most people believe faith means hoping that things might work out, yet hope still leaves room for doubt. Hope waits, watches, and worries. True faith operates on an entirely different level. It is a deep inner knowing that does not depend on visible proof. It is the quiet certainty that the right outcome already exists, even if the path to it has not yet appeared. When faith is present, anxiety fades because the mind is no longer scanning for signs of failure. Instead, it rests in expectation. This state of knowing sends a clear signal to life itself. It says that the matter is settled. Life responds to this certainty with speed and precision. Faith works because it removes inner conflict. Doubt pulls in opposite directions, weakening intention and scattering energy. Faith gathers the mind into a single point of focus. When you know something is already arranged in your favor, you stop interfering with fear-based thoughts. You stop questioning every delay. You stop rewriting the story in negative ways. This inner stillness allows solutions to emerge naturally. Often what people call miracles are simply the visible results of unwavering inner conviction meeting the right moment. Knowing does not mean you control how things happen. It means you trust the law that governs outcomes. This trust creates emotional stability. You are no longer emotionally reacting to temporary appearances. Circumstances may shift, people may change their behavior, and timelines may adjust, but faith remains untouched. This stability itself becomes attractive. Opportunities move toward those who are not desperate. Help appears for those who are calm. Faith removes urgency, and urgency is often the very thing that blocks progress. This kind of knowing grows through practice. Each time you choose trust instead of fear, you strengthen it. Each time you refuse to panic, and instead of firm order, the mind learns a new response. Gradually, faith becomes your default state. You no longer need constant reassurance because you have learned through experience that life responds to inner certainty. This is when winning feels natural rather than forced. Closely connected to this principle is the understanding that what you resist delays and what you accept dissolves. Resistance is not strength, it is tension. When you mentally fight a situation, complain about it, or resent it, you keep your attention locked onto it. Attention gives energy, and energy sustains whatever it is directed toward. Many people unknowingly keep problems alive by replaying them mentally, retelling the story, and emotionally reacting again and again. They believe resistance means they are not agreeing with the problem, yet in reality they are feeding it. Acceptance does not mean you approve of difficulty or surrender to it permanently. Acceptance simply means you stop fighting the fact that it exists right now. The moment you stop resisting, fear loosens its grip. When fear is removed, clarity takes its place. Solutions cannot enter a mind crowded with emotional resistance. They require space. Acceptance creates that space. It allows you to see options that were invisible when the mind was tense and reactive. When you accept a situation calmly, you shift from emotional reaction to conscious response. This shift is powerful. Instead of asking why this happened, you begin to ask what is required now. Instead of blaming circumstances or people, you align with resolution. Life responds quickly to this change because resistance has been removed from the equation. The obstacle no longer has anything to push against, so it collapses or transforms. Many delays in life are not caused by external barriers but by inner opposition. The mind argues with reality, insisting it should be different, and in doing so, remains stuck. When acceptance enters, movement begins. Events rearrange in subtle ways. Conversations change tone. Opportunities appear that were previously blocked by emotional noise. Acceptance creates flow, and flow accelerates outcomes. This principle also applies to fear itself. Fighting fear often strengthens it. Watching it calmly and refusing to obey it causes it to fade. When you no longer react to fear, it loses its authority. The mind learns that fear is not a command, but a signal that can be acknowledged and released. As fear dissolves, confidence naturally rises, not because circumstances have changed, but because inner alignment has been restored. Faith and acceptance work together. Faith provides certainty about the outcome, while acceptance removes resistance to the present moment. Together, they create a powerful inner state where effort is minimal and results are maximum. You are no longer pushing life forward. You are allowing it to unfold according to law. This state feels lighter, calmer, and strangely efficient. Progress happens without exhaustion. As this way of thinking becomes familiar, you begin to notice that challenges lose their intensity. They arrive, but they do not stay. They present themselves, but they do not dominate. You meet them with calm knowing rather than emotional struggle. This is not passive living. It is intelligent alignment. You are actively choosing thoughts that cooperate with life instead of fighting it. In this state, patience replaces frustration, clarity replaces confusion, and trust replaces anxiety. You begin to realize that life is not testing you, but responding to you. Every moment becomes an opportunity to strengthen faith and release resistance. With each choice, you move further into mastery, where winning the game of life feels less like effort and more like understanding in motion. Everything you experience in life begins as an image in the mind. Before an achievement is reached, before a relationship changes, before circumstances shift, there is first a picture held within. Imagination is not fantasy or idle daydreaming. It is the creative faculty through which life takes form. When imagination is directed with intention, it becomes a blueprint that the subconscious mind follows with precision. Most people use imagination unconsciously, replaying fears, disappointments, and worst-case scenarios. The subconscious accepts these images as instructions and works faithfully to reproduce them. This is why the quality of your imagination determines the quality of your experience. When you imagine with clarity and calm expectation, you impress the subconscious with a clear direction. It does not question or evaluate. It simply organizes behavior, perception, and opportunity around the image you have accepted as real. This process works whether you believe in it or not. The difference between those who struggle and those who progress lies in whether imagination is used deliberately or allowed to run on autopilot. The mind that pictures success steadily begins to notice paths that were previously invisible. Ideas surface at the right time. Actions feel guided rather than forced. This is not coincidence. It is imagination shaping awareness. Consistency matters more than intensity. A gentle image held repeatedly is more powerful than a strong image held briefly and then contradicted by doubt. When you return to the same inner picture again and again, you are teaching the subconscious what to expect. Expectation is the silent command behind manifestation. The moment the subconscious expects something, it begins to treat it as normal. What is normalized internally seeks expression externally. This is why sudden breakthroughs often follow a period of quiet inner rehearsal that no one else sees. Alongside imagination, understanding the power of timing transforms how you move through life. Many people believe effort alone determines success, yet effort without alignment often leads to exhaustion. There is a rhythm to life that cannot be rushed. When action is taken from anxiety, it creates resistance. When action is taken from clarity, it creates momentum. Right timing feels different in the body and mind. There is less tension, less forcing, and more certainty. You are not pushing events forward, you are stepping into them. Trusting timing requires patience, but patience is not passivity. It is active awareness without panic. When you trust timing, you prepare inwardly while remaining open outwardly. You stay mentally aligned with your goal while allowing the path to reveal itself naturally. Often what appears as delay is actually preparation. Conditions are rearranging, people are aligning, and details are settling into place. Forcing action too early can disrupt this process and create unnecessary obstacles. When timing is respected, effort becomes efficient. One inspired action accomplishes more than months of strained effort. You find yourself in the right place at the right moment, speaking to the right person without planning it. This is not luck. It is alignment between inner readiness and outer opportunity. Life responds generously when you cooperate with its rhythm rather than attempting to dominate it. Gratitude plays a powerful role in maintaining this alignment. Gratitude shifts attention from what is missing to what is already present. This shift changes your emotional state, and emotional state influences perception. When you feel grateful, you notice abundance. When you notice abundance, you expect more of it. Expectation again becomes instruction. Gratitude is not denial of desire. It is recognition of sufficiency in the present moment, which removes desperation from the pursuit of more. Expressing gratitude before results appears especially powerful. It signals trust in the process. It declares that you are confident enough to give thanks in advance. This mental attitude removes fear and impatience. Life responds to this signal by accelerating outcomes. Gratitude opens the mind to receive because it removes the belief that something is lacking or being withheld. As gratitude becomes habitual, your inner dialogue changes. Complaints fade because they no longer feel natural. Comparison loses its grip because appreciation replaces envy. You begin to move through life with a sense of quiet richness that does not depend on external validation. This inner wealth attracts outer order and opportunity without strain. Imagination, timing, and gratitude work together to create a powerful internal environment. You see clearly what you desire, trust the right moment for action, and remain appreciative throughout the process. This combination removes the frantic energy that blocks progress. Instead of chasing outcomes, you align with them. Instead of forcing change, you allow it to unfold through understanding. As this way of living becomes familiar, effort transforms into flow. Decisions feel lighter. Direction becomes clearer. You no longer measure progress by struggle, but by alignment. Life begins to meet you halfway because you are no longer sending mixed signals. The mind, emotion, and expectation are moving together, and when they move together, results follow naturally and consistently. The subconscious mind is always listening, always recording, and always responding. It does not pause to analyze whether a thought is reasonable or whether a statement is true. It simply accepts what is repeated with feeling and turns into experience. This is why so many people feel trapped in patterns they do not consciously choose. Their deeper mind has been trained through repetition to expect certain outcomes. An expectation quietly directs behavior, perception, and opportunity. Once you understand this, you realize that changing life does not begin with changing effort, but with changing what the subconscious has been taught to accept as normal. Every belief held in the subconscious acts like a silent instruction. If it expects limitation, it filters opportunities out of awareness. If it expects success, it highlights paths toward it. This filtering process happens automatically. You do not notice it because it feels like reality itself. The subconscious is not creating new circumstances from nothing. It is shaping how you move through existing ones. It determines what feels possible, what feels risky, and what feels familiar. Familiarity is powerful. The subconscious will always guide you toward what feels familiar, even if what feels familiar is uncomfortable or limiting. This is why repetition matters so deeply. A single positive thought does little if it is drowned out by habitual doubt. But a steady stream of aligned thoughts gradually retrains expectation. When you repeat a calm statement of confidence, the subconscious begins to accept it as true. Once accepted, it adjusts behavior automatically. You speak differently, choose differently, and respond differently without conscious effort. Over time, these small shifts create major changes in outcome. Alongside this process, understanding the nature of fear reveals why it has such a strong influence over results. Fear is not a warning of danger as much as it is a signal of uncertainty. It arises when the mind imagines a future without trust. Fear feeds on attention. The more you focus on it, the more real it feels. Yet fear has no creative power of its own. It only borrows energy from your focus. When attention is withdrawn, fear weakens and dissolves. Many people try to fight fear directly, which often strengthens it. Resistance gives fear importance. Observing fear without obeying it removes its authority. When you notice fear and choose not to act from it, you teach the subconscious a new lesson. You demonstrate that fear does not control decisions. This lesson is powerful. Over time, the subconscious learns that calm response is safer than panic. Confidence begins to replace anxiety, not because fear never appears, but because it no longer commands behavior. Fear also distorts perception. It makes obstacles appear larger and solutions appear smaller. When fear is active, the mind narrows its focus and overlooks alternatives. This is why people often make poor decisions under stress. When fear is replaced with trust, perception widens. Options become visible. Creativity returns. You see paths that were hidden by tension. This shift in perception alone can completely change outcomes. As fear loses its grip, clarity takes its place. Clarity is not forced thinking. It is the natural result of a calm mind. In this state, intuition becomes reliable. You sense when to act and when to wait. Decisions feel lighter because they are not burdened by imagined consequences. Life feels less threatening and more responsive. You begin to realize that most of the obstacles you feared were projections, not realities. This internal shift directly influences external conditions. People respond differently to those who are not driven by fear. Conversations soften. Resistance decreases. Cooperation increases. Fear creates friction, while trust creates flow. When you move through life without fear as your guide, circumstances seem to meet you halfway. Events unfold with less struggle. Not because the world has changed, but because your interaction with it has. As the subconscious becomes trained in trust rather than fear, it begins to support you instead of sabotage you. It directs attention toward opportunity rather than threat. It reinforces confidence instead of doubt. This support feels like inner guidance. You are no longer battling your own mind. You are working with it. Over time, this alignment becomes stable. Calm becomes familiar. Confidence feels natural. Fear may still arise occasionally, but it no longer defines your choices. You have taught your subconscious a new pattern, and patterns are powerful. They shape daily experience quietly and consistently. In this state, life feels less like something to survive, and more like something to cooperate with. Challenges still appear, but they no longer dominate. They are met with understanding rather than resistance. The inner atmosphere has changed, and the outer world reflects that change with increasing accuracy and ease. Many people spend their lives believing they are battling circumstances, competing with others, or struggling against fate. Yet the true opponent has always been internal. Fear is the force that disguises itself as logic, caution, and realism. It convinces the mind to hesitate, to delay, and to settle. Fear does not arrive announcing itself clearly. It slips in quietly through imagined outcomes and worst-case scenarios. Once accepted, it begins directing choices. People say they want progress, yet fear quietly negotiates smaller goals, safer decisions, and familiar discomfort. Until fear is recognized as the only real opponent, it continues to shape life unnoticed. Fear thrives on future projection. It asks what if repeatedly until the mind feels overwhelmed. It creates emotional urgency that pressures the mind to act defensively rather than intelligently. Under fear, people rush, avoid, or overthink. None of these responses produce clarity. Fear narrows awareness and blocks intuition. It convinces the mind that danger is constant and opportunity is rare. This distortion makes life feel hostile and unpredictable, even when it is responding accurately to inner states. When fear is seen clearly, its power weakens. Fear cannot survive observation without obedience. The moment you notice fear and refuse to let it dictate your response, you reclaim authority. This does not mean fear disappears instantly. It means it no longer controls direction. Courage is not the absence of fear. It is the refusal to let fear decide. Each time you choose calm action over fearful avoidance, you weaken fear's influence. The subconscious learns that fear is not a command, but a sensation that can pass. Fear also feeds on identity. People begin to see themselves as cautious, unlucky, or limited, without realizing these identities were formed through repeated fearful responses. Once identity shifts, behavior follows. When you begin to identify as someone who trusts life, who expects order, and who responds rather than reacts, fear loses its foundation. It no longer has a role to play. Life adjusts to this new identity by presenting experiences that confirm it. As fear dissolves, A new understanding emerges. You realize that most obstacles were never barriers but tests of inner alignment. They appeared solid only because fear gave them weight. Without fear, obstacles become instructions rather than threats. They guide adjustment rather than block progress. This shift alone transforms how life feels. What once seemed overwhelming becomes manageable. What once felt impossible becomes procedural. When fear is no longer leading, you naturally begin to live by law rather than reaction. Life operates on principles whether they are understood or not. Thought creates direction. Expectation sets momentum. Action follows belief. These laws are consistent and impartial. They do not respond to effort alone, but to alignment. Winning the game of life is not about domination or control. It is about cooperation with these laws. When you play by law, life feels fair. Not always easy, but always logical. You see cause and effect clearly. You understand why certain patterns repeat and how to change them. You no longer blame people or circumstances because you recognize the deeper mechanics at work. This understanding removes frustration. You stop asking why things happen to you and begin asking what belief or expectation produced them. Living by law brings calm confidence. You know that outcomes are not random. You trust that aligned thought produces aligned experience. This trust allows you to move forward without constant reassurance. You act when guided and wait when uncertain. Both action and waiting feel purposeful rather than anxious. You are no longer chasing success. You are allowing it to meet you at the point of readiness. Winning becomes natural in this state because there is no inner resistance. The mind is not arguing with itself. Desire and belief move together. Effort is no longer scattered. Energy is focused. This focus creates momentum. Momentum attracts opportunity. Opportunity rewards preparedness. The process feels smooth because it is lawful. As this way of living deepens, you stop measuring success by struggle. You recognize progress through clarity, ease, and alignment. Even challenges feel different. They arrive without panic and leave without damage. You trust your ability to respond intelligently. This trust is the foundation of mastery. Life does not reward force. It rewards understanding. When fear is removed and law is respected, winning is no longer a rare event. It becomes a pattern, a natural outcome of living in harmony with principles that never fail.